Sometimes the most terrifying experiences aren't found in haunted houses or ghost stories. They happen to ordinary people, in ordinary places, when the boundaries between the living and the dead blur in ways we can't explain. These are the real-life tales that defy logic. The voice of a dead wife saves her husband from certain death. Imagine sitting outside your home, enjoying a quiet moment, when you hear a familiar voice calling your name. For one man, this voice was unmistakable. It was his wife's. However, there was one terrifying problem. His wife had passed away years ago. Despite the shock, the voice was so urgent that he felt compelled to go inside the house. As soon as he stepped inside, a loud crash echoed behind him. He turned around to see that the heavy cast-iron gutter had fallen and crushed the chair he had just been sitting on. Had he ignored the voice, he might not have survived. This chilling encounter left him questioning the boundary between life and death. Was it truly his wife's spirit protecting him from beyond the grave, or was it just a bizarre coincidence? Number 2. The Phantom Roommate, a haunting encounter with a ghostly tenant. Staying over at a friend's house should be uneventful, but for one person, it turned into a night they would never forget. Late at night, after waking up on the couch, they decided to head home. Noticing their friend's light was on, they called out to say goodbye, hearing a response from behind the door. Yet something felt off. Something wasn't quite right with the voice. Curious and a bit unnerved, they opened the door to find the room empty. A wave of panic set in when they realized their friend's car was also gone. Later, they learned the house had a dark history. A previous tenant had tragically taken his own life there. Strangely, the description of the voice matched the appearance of the deceased tenant. From that day on, the house was never the same, and everyone who visited felt a haunting presence lingering in the halls. If you are enjoying this video, then a sub to the channel will be awesome. I am just a lad that is trying hard to get by. Number 3. Room 229. The night a family faced an unseen intruder. On a road trip through the southern United States, a family decided to rest at a Days Inn after a long day of driving. Exhausted, they quickly settled into room 229. However, something felt off, an unsettling vibe that everyone sensed but was too tired to address. In the dead of night, the mother awoke with a start, screaming that there was a man in their room. The father jumped up, seeing a shadowy figure standing at the foot of their bed. But when they turned on the lights, no one was there. The room felt cold, the air thick with dread. Unable to shake the feeling of being watched, the family left the hotel immediately, opting to sleep in their car instead. To this day, they wonder what malevolent force they encountered that night in room 229. Number 4. The Hair-Eating Horror, a student's descent into madness. Being a resident advisor in a college dorm can be challenging, but nothing could prepare one resident advisor for the terrifying experience that awaited him. A student who had been struggling with stress finally snapped in the most horrifying way. She was found in a dark, abandoned stairwell, having torn out most of her hair and eaten it. Despite her fragile appearance, she exhibited unnatural strength, fighting off several people who tried to help her. All the while, she kept repeating, "I just need a haircut," in a disturbingly calm voice. The image of her sitting there, hair in hand, with an eerie composure, is something that still haunts those who witnessed it. This chilling encounter serves as a grim reminder of how fragile the human mind can be under pressure. Number 5. A final cry for help, the chilling voicemail from beyond the grave. In the days following his sister's tragic death, one man returned to work, trying to piece his life back together. As he settled into his routine, he checked his office phone for messages. What he heard sent a chill down his spine, a voicemail from his deceased sister. Her voice was filled with panic, screaming for help, saying she was trapped and couldn't breathe. The timestamp showed the message was left after she had already passed away. Confused and terrified, he played the message for his colleagues, who were equally shaken. The voicemail's existence remains a mystery, leaving him and those around him to question whether it was a technical glitch or something far more supernatural. A final, desperate cry from beyond the grave. A family had recently moved into an old Victorian-style house that had been on the market for years. They were thrilled about their new home, but from the moment they moved in, strange things began to happen. At first it was small, unexplained noises in the night, cold spots in certain rooms. But things escalated when the daughter of the family discovered a small, hidden door in the attic. Curious, she opened it, only to find a dusty, forgotten room with old toys and a rocking chair that seemed to move on its own. That night, the family was woken by the sound of footsteps coming from the attic. When they went to investigate, they found the rocking chair still gently moving, as if someone had just been sitting in it. Despite multiple attempts to bless the house and cleanse it of spirits, the disturbances never ceased. Eventually, the family moved out, leaving the haunted attic and its secrets behind. 7. The Disappearing Road. A group of friends decided to take a late-night drive through a rural area known for its winding roads and eerie atmosphere. It was a route they had driven many times before, but on this particular night, something was different. As they drove, they noticed the familiar landmarks were missing, and the road seemed to stretch endlessly into the dark, with no sign of civilization. After hours of driving in what felt like circles, they came upon a small, dilapidated gas station they had never seen before. Desperate for directions, they stopped, but when they approached, the place seemed abandoned. Suddenly, all the lights went out, and the road in front of them disappeared into the darkness. Panicking, they quickly got back into the car and sped away. It wasn't until they had driven for what felt like miles that they found themselves back on the main road. To this day, they swear they were in some sort of alternate reality, and the road they drove on that night has never been found again.